My name is Clarice Bennett. I'm 58 years old, and my phone rang at 2:17 in the afternoon. I was sitting in a doctor's waiting room when Tasha's name flashed across my screen. Strange. She never called during prep time. "Miss Clarice," she whispered, her voice trembling. "There's someone in your house." My heart stopped. "What? Are you sure?" I heard footsteps upstairs, heavy ones. I thought it was you coming back, but then I realized your car's not here. Her breathing quickened. "I'm hiding in the pantry. I think they're coming downstairs." "Get out now," I said, my voice barely audible. "Call the police and—" The line went dead. If you're watching this story right now, please hit that like button. Where are you listening from? Let me know in the comments below. Also, download your ebook titled Suspense and Thriller Stories by clicking the link in the pinned comment. My name is Clarice Bennett. I'm 58 years old, and until that phone call, I thought the scariest thing in my life was growing old alone. My husband Robert died 5 years ago. Heart attack while mowing the lawn. One minute he was there, whistling some old Motown song, and the next, he was gone, just like that. Our house used to burst with noise, Robert's deep laugh, the kids arguing over the remote, Sunday dinners where we'd all talk over each other. Now it's just me and the hum of the refrigerator. The silence has a weight to it, pressing down on my shoulders every night. My children moved out soon after the funeral. Darius got a job across town, said he needed space to figure things out. Nia went even further, all the way to Chicago. She calls on birthdays, sometimes Christmas. We used to be so close. I don't know what changed, but something did. The distance between us grew like a shadow at sunset. Slow at first, then suddenly consuming everything. After 30 years of teaching high school English, I retired last spring. I promised myself I'd focus on peace, reading books I never had time for, tending to my garden, maybe even dating again. But peace, I've learned, is a fragile thing. It shatters easily, especially when the people you love start pulling away and you don't understand why. My blood pressure had been creeping up. Stress and loneliness, my doctor said, like it was a diagnosis. Nia suggested I hire someone to help around the house. A private chef, she said during one of her rare calls. Someone to cook healthy meals so you're not eating frozen dinners every night. I wasn't thrilled about a stranger in my kitchen. That space had been mine and Robert's domain for decades. But I figured it was better than another lecture from my doctor about sodium intake. That's how Tasha came into my life. She arrived for the interview with a container of sweet potato soup and a smile that reached her eyes. Early 30s, with gentle hands and a soft voice that reminded me of summer rain. She'd worked as a private chef for wealthy families in Atlanta, but wanted something more personal and peaceful. "Rich people don't taste their food," she told me, shaking her head. "They just want to show it off. I want to cook for someone who appreciates what goes into a meal." I hired her on the spot. Within 2 weeks, she felt almost like family. She'd hum gospel songs while chopping vegetables, tell me stories about her grandmother's recipes from Mobile, and fuss at me whenever I tried to help her wash dishes. "Miss Clarice, I got this," she'd say, with that warm grin of hers. "You just sit down and let me feed you right." For the first time since Robert died, I started to feel cared for again. The house felt less empty when she was there. I'd watch her hands work, quick, confident movements as she minced garlic or kneaded dough, and feel a sense of comfort I thought I'd lost forever. I never imagined those same hands would be part of destroying what little peace I had left. I called 911 before I even left the doctor's office, my hands shaking so badly I could barely hold the phone. The receptionist must have seen the panic on my face because she rushed over, asking if I needed help. "Someone's in my house," I managed to say. "My chef is hiding in the pantry." The 20-minute drive home felt like hours. I kept calling Tasha back, but she didn't answer. My mind raced with terrible possibilities. Was she hurt? Taken? I pressed the gas pedal harder, praying under my breath. By the time I pulled into my driveway, 2 police cars were already parked outside. An officer approached as I stumbled out of my car. "Are you Mrs. Bennett, the homeowner?" "Yes. Where's Tasha? Is she okay?" He nodded. "She's fine, ma'am. She's sitting in one of our vehicles, pretty shaken up." Relief washed over me, but only for a moment. The officer explained they'd searched the entire house. No one was inside, but something was definitely wrong. "Ma'am, would you mind taking a look around? Tell us if anything seems out of place or missing." I followed him inside, my sanctuary now crawling with uniformed strangers. In my bedroom, the window was cracked open. I never left it that way. Muddy footprints trailed from the back door through the kitchen and up the stairs. Someone had definitely been here. But nothing valuable seemed to be missing. Not my jewelry in the dresser drawer, not the television, not even the emergency cash I kept in my nightstand. Might have been interrupted before they could take anything, one officer suggested. "Your chef calling probably scared them off." I found Tasha sitting in the back of a police car, hugging herself. When she saw me, she burst into tears. "Miss Clarice, I was so scared. I heard them walking around upstairs, heavy footsteps. I thought they were coming for me next." "It's okay," I said, squeezing her hand. "You did the right thing." But as I comforted her, something flickered across her face, a shadow that didn't match her words. Her eyes darted away from mine too quickly. Her hands were cold despite the warm day. "Did you see anyone?" I asked carefully. "No," she said too quickly. "I just heard them. I hid as soon as I realized someone was there." The police took our statements and promised to patrol the area more frequently. They suggested I change my locks and consider a security system. That night, after Tasha left and the police were gone, I sat alone in my living room, listening to every creak and groan of the house. Sounds I'd never noticed before suddenly seemed threatening. The wind against the windows, the ice maker dropping cubes, the settling of old wood. I checked the locks 3 times before going to bed, but sleep wouldn't come. The house felt different, like someone had changed the air itself. Over the next week, small things started disappearing. Nothing valuable enough to report to the police, but enough to make me question my sanity. The bottle of perfume Robert gave me for our 25th anniversary, gone from my dresser. A framed photo of our family vacation to Myrtle Beach, missing from the hallway table. The spare key I kept in the kitchen drawer, banished. Each time I'd ask Tasha if she'd seen these items. Each time her answer came a beat too fast. "No, ma'am. You sure you didn't move them yourself?" The way she said it made me feel small, forgetful, like maybe I was losing my grip. Then came the coffee cup. I woke up one Tuesday morning and found it sitting on the kitchen counter, half full, still warm. Black coffee, no sugar. I never drank it black, and Tasha wasn't due to arrive for hours. I stood there staring at that cup, my heart pounding. Someone had been in my kitchen. Someone had made coffee in my house while I slept upstairs, vulnerable and unaware. That evening, I called Darius. We hadn't spoken in weeks, but fear overrode my pride. "Baby, I think someone's been in the house," I told him, trying to keep my voice steady. "Things are missing, and this morning, there was a coffee cup." He cut me off with a heavy sigh. Mama, you probably just need to rest. You've been stressed lately. I'm not imagining this, Darius. That house is too big for you to be rattling around in alone. All those empty rooms playing tricks on your mind. I hated the dismissal in his voice, the same tone he used when I'd called too many times after Robert died, like I was becoming a burden, a problem to manage rather than a mother to love. I know what I saw, I said quietly. Look, I gotta go. Meeting in 5. I'll call you tomorrow, okay? He didn't call. 2 nights later, my phone rang at 11:43 p.m. Tasha's name lit up the screen. Miss Clarice? Her voice trembled. You need to get out of the house. Right now. I sat up in bed, suddenly wide awake. What are you talking about? I was driving by. I left my favorite knife there earlier. I saw your lights on upstairs. I thought maybe you forgot to turn them off. Then I saw a shadow move past your bedroom window. My blood turned to ice. I was downstairs in the living room. No one should be upstairs. I grabbed my phone and dialed 911, whispering my address. I didn't even put on shoes. I ran outside barefoot and locked myself in my car, watching my bedroom window from the driveway. The light was indeed on, casting a yellow glow into the night. When the police arrived, they searched every room, closet, and crawl space. And again, nothing. No intruder, no forced entry. Just those same muddy footprints by the back door. One of the officers, the same one from before, gave me a look that made my cheeks burn. Half sympathy, half suspicion. You sure you didn't leave the lights on yourself, ma'am? I felt humiliated, like a child afraid of shadows. After they left, Tasha and I sat in the kitchen. She reached across the table and squeezed my hand. Miss Clarice, she said quietly, her eyes never leaving mine, I think whoever this is, they're watching the house. Maybe they know your schedule. The next day, I called a security company. By afternoon, I had cameras installed, one at the front door, one by the back, and one in the living room with a view of the kitchen. The technician showed me how to access the feed from my phone, how to review footage, how to set motion alerts. This system will notify you the second anyone approaches your property, he assured me. For the first few days, nothing happened. The only alerts I got were when Tasha arrived for work or when the neighbor's cat wandered onto my porch. I started to feel silly, like I'd overreacted. Then, on the 5th night, my phone buzzed at 12:17 a.m. A motion alert. Half asleep, I opened the app, and my heart nearly stopped. A tall figure in a dark hoodie stood in my kitchen, facing the refrigerator. The person moved slowly, deliberately, like they knew exactly where everything was. They opened the fridge, took something out, and closed it carefully. I screamed, dropped the phone, and called the police again. By the time they arrived, 7 minutes later, though it felt like hours, the intruder was gone. The officers reviewed the footage, their faces grim. They promised to increase patrols, to investigate, to dust for prints, but they didn't recognize the hooded figure. I watched the video again after they left, frame by frame. That's when I noticed it. The bracelet on the intruder's wrist. A leather band with silver studs catching the light from the refrigerator. I'd seen that bracelet before. Darius used to wear one just like it. I zoomed in further, my hand shaking. As the figure reached for the refrigerator door, their sleeve rode up slightly. There, on the inside of their wrist, was a small tattoo. A cross. My son had the same one. He'd gotten it on his 18th birthday, his first act of adulthood. I sat there for nearly an hour, staring at that frozen image. My own child, breaking into my home like a thief in the night. The next morning, I drove to Darius's apartment without calling first. I needed to see his face when I asked him. "Where were you last night?" I demanded as soon as he opened the door. He blinked, still in his pajamas. Home? Why are you asking me this?" I studied his face, looking for signs of deception. His eyes, Robert's eyes, met mine steadily. But there was something else there. Worry? Guilt? I glanced past him into his apartment and noticed something strange. Boxes stacked against the wall. Suitcases by the door. The place looked half empty. "What's going on, Darius?" I asked, my voice softer now. He rubbed his face, suddenly looking much older than his 32 years old. "Mom, I was gonna tell you. I got laid off last month. Been trying to handle it, but bills are piling up." I swallowed hard. "So you broke into my house?" His eyes widened. "What? No, Mama, Don't lie to me." I pulled out my phone, showed him the footage. "I saw you. On my camera. That's your bracelet, your tattoo." His shoulders slumped. The denial drained from his face, replaced with something worse. Shame. He said, "I wasn't trying to steal. I just... I, I needed some money. I thought maybe you'd left cash in your drawer. I didn't want you to know I was struggling." The pain in his voice hit me like a physical blow. My son, my own flesh and blood, sneaking into my house like a stranger rather than asking for help. "Why didn't you just come to me?" I whispered. "Because you always make me feel like a failure," he said, not meeting my eyes. "Ever since Dad died, like I'm not measuring up." His words stung because there was truth in them. I had been hard on him, expecting him to step into his father's shoes, to be the man of the family. I left without another word, but something still didn't add up. After confronting Darius, I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep. The betrayal sat in my chest like a stone. My own son breaking into my home instead of asking for help. What kind of mother raises a child who can't come to her in need? I replayed our relationship in my mind, searching for the moment it fractured. Was it after Robert died? Before? Had I been too strict? Too distant? Too demanding? Tasha noticed my distraction when she came to cook the next day. She made my favorite gumbo, her grandmother's recipe with okra and shrimp, and sat with me while I pushed it around my bowl. "You want to talk about it?" she asked gently. I shook my head. "Just family stuff." "Family can hurt us worse than anybody," she said, her eyes soft with understanding, "because we love them most." I almost told her then about Darius, the camera, my broken heart, but something held me back. A whisper of doubt I couldn't name. Later that afternoon, I was in the kitchen when Tasha's phone buzzed on the counter. Before I could call her name, I saw the screen light up with a message. "From Darius. You said she's gone today. You sure?" My stomach dropped. I stared at those words until the screen went dark again. When Tasha returned from the bathroom, I forced a smile. "Everything okay?" She nodded, but her hands trembled as she wiped them on a towel. "Just fine, Miss Clarice. You need anything else before I head out?" "No," I said quietly. "I'm good." That night, I told Tasha I'd be attending a prayer meeting at church. I dressed up, even put on lipstick. I drove away at 7:30 p.m., circled the block, then parked 2 streets over where I could see my house through a gap in the trees. At 7:45 p.m., a car pulled up. Darius got out, looking over his shoulder before approaching my front door. Tasha opened it before he could knock. I felt my world tilt sideways. I waited 10 minutes, then crept closer, staying in the shadows. Through the side window, I could see them in my living room, talking in hushed tones. I caught fragments of their conversation through the cracked window. "Can't keep doing this," Darius was saying. "She's getting suspicious." Tasha's voice came next, urgent and low. "We're so close. The money." "What if she calls the cops on me next time?" "She won't. She'll forgive you. You're her son." I pressed closer, straining to hear. "Safe in the attic," Tasha whispered, "just like your dad's letter said." Darius ran a hand over his face. "This doesn't feel right." "You need this money," Tasha insisted. "We need it." "We?" My mind raced. How long had they known each other? How had they met? Then Darius said something that made my blood freeze. "She don't even know what's up there." The next morning after they left, I went into the attic. I hadn't been up there in years, not since Robert died. It was his space, filled with Christmas decorations, old sports equipment, and boxes of memories I couldn't bear to sort through. At first glance, everything looked normal, dusty and untouched. But behind one of the support beams, I found something that hadn't been there before, a small metal lockbox. My hand shook as I pulled it out. It wasn't locked. Inside were stacks of papers, savings bonds, dozens of them, yellowed with age. They were in my name, dated 20 years back. Robert's handwriting on the envelopes. I had forgotten all about them. Early in our marriage, when money was tight but we wanted to save for the kids' college, Robert would put aside a little each month for bonds. As we got older and more comfortable, the bonds became less important. I assumed he'd cashed them in years ago. But here they were, worth thousands now. One envelope had been pried open, the bond inside missing. That's when it all clicked. The intruder, the calls, the fear, it had all been part of a plan to scare me out of the house long enough for them to search it thoroughly. But something must have gone wrong. Maybe Darius panicked when the police showed up that first time, or maybe they couldn't find what they were looking for until recently. I felt sick, used, manipulated. How had Tasha known about the bonds? Had Darius told her? Or had she somehow found Robert's papers while cooking in my home, gaining my trust? I didn't confront them right away. Instead, I decided to set my own trap. I called Tasha the next day and told her I'd be going out of town for the weekend, visiting my sister in Savannah. She smiled and said she'd keep an eye on the place. "Don't you worry about a thing, Miss Clarice. Your house is safe with me." That night, I left the cameras running and hid a second set, small ones she didn't know about. One in the attic, one in my bedroom, one in the hallway. I parked down the street and waited. Sure enough, the next evening my phone buzzed with alerts. Tasha arrived first, using the key I'd given her for emergencies. Darius came 20 minutes later. They went straight to the attic, pulling down boxes, searching through old trunks. I watched in disbelief as they found the lockbox again, stuffing the savings bonds into a duffel bag. But then something unexpected happened. They started arguing. Darius shouted, "You said you'd split it." Tasha snapped back, "You lied to your mama. You think I trust you? This was your idea from the start, all that talk about someone breaking in. You made her think she was losing her mind." "And you played along," she hissed. Poor broke Darius. Couldn't even ask his mama for help like a man. He grabbed her arm. She pushed him away. He stumbled, hit his head against the beam, and went still. Tasha froze, staring down at Darius. Then she dropped the bag and ran. I called the police from my car, telling them everything. When they arrived, Darius was conscious but dazed. They took him to the hospital first, then into custody. Tasha was arrested a week later trying to cash one of the bonds at a bank 2 towns over. The full story came out during questioning. They'd met at a bar 6 months ago. Darius, drunk and bitter, had talked about his rich mama living alone in a big house. Tasha, it turned out, had a history of targeting vulnerable elderly people, getting jobs as their caretakers, then stealing from them. She'd suggested the chef job as a way to get close to me to search the house. When she found an old letter from Robert mentioning the bonds, she convinced Darius to help her find them.
The intruder calls were her idea to make me paranoid, to see if I'd reveal where valuables were hidden, to get me out of the house so they could search more thoroughly. Darius wrote me from jail, his handwriting shaky like when he was a child learning cursive. "Mama," he wrote, "I know sorry isn't enough. Tasha convinced you were hoarding money while I struggled, said you didn't really care. I believed her because it was easier than facing my own failures. I was weak and desperate. Not a day goes by that I don't hate myself for betraying you. I understand if you never forgive me." I read that letter 100 times, tears blurring the words. It's been 8 months since that night. Darius is still serving his sentence, reduced because he cooperated, because he had no prior record, because in the end, he chose truth over escape. I visit him every Sunday after church. At first, we sat in silence, the weight of betrayal too heavy for words. Now we talk, really talk, about Robert, about grief, about expectations and disappointments, about rebuilding trust one visit at a time. Tasha got 5 years. Sometimes I wonder if she ever cared about me at all, or if every smile, every shared story, every meal was just part of her plan. I'll never know. People ask if I've forgiven them. The truth is more complicated than a simple yes or no. Forgiveness isn't a moment, it's a process. Some days I feel nothing but compassion for my son, trapped in desperation and shame. Other days the hurt rises fresh, and I wonder if I'll ever trust anyone again. But I've learned something powerful through all this. Forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. It means freeing yourself from the poison of someone else's betrayal. It means choosing not to let their worst actions define your life. I still live in this house, alone, but at peace. I've reclaimed each room, each memory. The kitchen where Tasha cooked is mine again. The attic holds no more secrets. The cameras are still up. The locks are stronger. I'm not naive anymore, but I refuse to live in fear. When I cook for myself now, I whisper a quiet prayer for protection, for wisdom, and for discernment. Because sometimes the real danger isn't the stranger breaking in. It's the one you've already let inside. The bonds, I cashed them in. Paid for Naya to come visit from Chicago. Started a college fund for her daughter, my grandbaby. Donated to a program helping ex-offenders find jobs after release. Turned something meant for harm into something healing. That's the thing about betrayal. It can break you or it can teach you. I choose to learn. If my story has touched you in any way, please subscribe to hear more truths about family, trust, and the courage to begin again. Where are you listening from? Let me know in the comments below. Lastly, download your ebook titled Suspense and Thriller Stories by clicking the link in the pinned comment.